Hello, beautiful people. Today we're going to talk about how to ask for a promotion at work. That awkward, sticky conversation that you know you need to have. By the end of this video, you'll know the amount of work you need to do to ask for a promotion and how simply asking is never enough. In this video, we're going to look at what it actually takes to ask for a promotion. We're also going to look at what it means to be ready to get a promotion. And we're going to look at the amount of work that you need to do before you even think about asking for one. Most important thing to remember about asking for a promotion, you can ask all you want, and if you're not ready, you won't get it. What you will do if you ask prematurely is you will simply irritate your boss, and you will also show a lack of understanding of what it takes to get a promotion, and a lack of understanding of your career path, and a lack of understanding of the value that you bring. So step number one is make sure that you're ready to ask for a promotion. Let's look at what it takes to make sure you're ready to ask for a promotion. The most important thing you can do right now is go down to the description and look at the promotion readiness assessment and do it. Be brutally honest with yourself, go through the scoring process, write down in the comments below what you think your final score is after you've been brutally honest with yourself, and then let's talk about what you can do now that you've taken the assessment. If you scored between 80 and 100, really, honestly, being honest with yourself, answering the questions as best you possibly can, then you're probably ready to get promoted. It's time to actually have that conversation with your boss. If you scored anything below 80, we're back to the drawing board. Recommend that you look at some of the other videos and recommend that you start thinking about what your plan looks like to get yourself ready for asking for that promotion and to move yourself up on the scoring assessment to beyond 80, somewhere between 80 and 100. So there are 3 steps that you need to take if you're scoring beyond 80 and you're ready to have that conversation with your boss. First step is go talk to HR and find out when the promotions are happening for your group, your team, your company, when your boss is actually going to start evaluating people for those promotions, and then when the promotions are actually going to be decided upon. HR can always tell you that. Again, it has to do with the promotion cycles for your company. Second step is sit down quietly somewhere and build an empathy map for your boss. I've done another video on empathy maps. I'm not going to go into it in detail here. Have a look at that other video. But an empathy map is essentially you putting yourself in your boss's shoes, you looking at what their day-to-day work looks like, you looking at what it is they might be worried or concerned about, you understanding what it is that they're looking to try and accomplish in the next year, and you also looking at what it is, what's the noise they're hearing every day. And the noise might be a whole bunch of people coming to them and saying that they want to get promoted without having done their homework. So what I found as people get ready to ask to get promoted or to let their boss know they want to get promoted is they've already done a fair amount of work to understand what is the value that they can bring. One of the things that's shown up consistently as a great starting point for people to really begin to get ready to make that first offer is you friends in the company. Your friends work in different departments. Most of the time what we do when we go out to lunch with our friends is we chat about absolutely everything other than work. Allow yourself to be able to chat about work a couple of times with your friends and see how your boss is perceived outside of your own group, how your boss is perceived across the organization in different departments. Are they a good partner for different departments? Are they a good ally? Or are they working together with your friend's boss, for example? See whether or not there's something in there that you two could potentially do together that would allow your departments to be able to work more effectively together. Cross-functional collaboration is a huge part of what gets people promoted, because in lots of organizations there are individual silos where a boss is responsible for one particular group, another boss is responsible for another particular group, and rarely do those groups actually work together. You have friends in different departments that work directly with your department on an ongoing basis. Identify with those friends what's working and what's not working, and come back to your boss with an understanding of what's not working. So for example, if you're working with finance and you're part of the sales ops organization, and sales operations struggles deeply with getting finance to be able to acknowledge sales credit at a particular time at the end of the quarter every single year. Or even if they decide they want to do sales credit monthly, which a lot of salespeople would really value, that's missing from what finance does, and that doesn't happen on an ongoing basis. See whether or not your friend in the finance department and you could cook up something that would begin to make some of those changes happen, or at least scope out what it would take for those changes to happen. That'll put your boss in a position where they're being seen for doing powerful cross-functional collaboration, and you'll be the catalyst for making that happen. Step number 4 is have some of the difficult conversations. So there's a couple of difficult conversations that you need to have before you actually go and ask for a promotion. The first one you've already started. This is having conversations, not gossipy ones, but actual research ones where you're doing some deep listening, is to talk to your friends in other departments and see how your department is perceived and see how your boss is perceived. So you may think that your boss walks on water and is really fantastic, but I guarantee you, regardless of how good they are, there are other departments that are struggling with the way your boss works, or with the value your boss brings, or with the prioritization process your boss has. So it's worth listening to some of those and trying to understand them in the context of you think your boss is actually a great person and you want to be able to add value to them. So how do you see other people's interpretations and opinions of them in that light? The second difficult conversation to have is the one with your boss. So before you waltz into their office and say, or you get them on a Zoom call and you say, I'd like to talk about having a promotion, I would be inclined to actually ask them how you're doing with your current performance. So in a previous video, we talked about the difference between performance and potential. Now what we're doing is we're going in and we're just asking about performance. Year to date, how am I doing against my goals? Is there anything I could be stepping up into? Are you satisfied with the work that I'm currently doing? Am I delivering on my promises that I've made to you? Are there any stretch goals that you think I should be adding at this point in the year? So just make sure that you're on firm ground with your boss and that you've actually built the level of trust that you think that you have, so that when you come in and you do talk to them about having a promotion, that it's not a complete surprise for them and that you're not someone who was on their radar for a promotion in the first place. So part of doing your homework is having those difficult and sticky conversations. The other thing that you can do is you can actually assess for yourself whether or not you're ready to have a promotion or to have the conversation about asking for a promotion. And that would be to do the promotion readiness assessment, which you'll find a link to in the description, but that'll help you understand whether you're being honest with yourself before you go in and have the conversation with your boss to see whether or not you're being honest with them as well. So doing the promotion readiness assessment will allow you to be able to see whether or not you're being honest with yourself, whether you've done your own homework, and whether you're actually ready to have that conversation with your boss. Hey, one of the other things that I consider to be super important at work is celebration. And I've mentioned that a couple of times in other videos. So when you do get the promotion, when you have had the conversation and it actually does come through, please let us know in the comments so that we can celebrate with you, because celebrating is a huge part of what work is all about. Thank you.